Americans are leaving this country in record numbers. And no, I'm not talking about vacations. I mean, people are packing up their entire lives, buying a one-way ticket and saying, I'm done with the US. In the first few months of 2025, the number of Americans moving abroad doubled compared to the year before. And that's not a small trend, that's a wave. So let's talk about why. Why are these people choosing to do what I did and leave the country? Okay, the reasons, they're the same things that we talk about every day. Okay, they talk about the cost of living, out of control. Politics feels like it's just a bunch of nonsense, a bunch of chaos that never ends. And safety, even running simple errands like, going to the grocery store, going to the mall, things like that. It just feels like it's a gamble, right? Things just feel unsafe. So the promise of the American dream, it's eroding, it's breaking away, and people are deciding that they don't want to play a losing game anymore. It just doesn't seem like it's in our favor being in America. Now, here's the thing. We're not just talking about millionaires, okay, buying villas on the beach. It's not just influencers showing off some tropical paradise online. We're talking about ordinary people, okay? You got parents with kids, young adults starting careers. You got older folks on retirement incomes, remote workers who realize that if they can do their job from anywhere, from just a living room, they can do it from places like Portugal or Kenya. Okay, these are regular Americans saying, I deserve a life that makes sense. They want to get ahead. Okay, so to get ahead now, we're leaving America. Okay, that's why you're seeing countries like Greece, Spain, France, Portugal. Their cafes are filling up with Americans who don't or are done waiting for things to improve back home. Okay, we're done. Okay, it's time to live life right now. Okay, they're not tourists. They're building lives. They're finding communities where life feels slower, healthier, actually affordable. Okay, if you know that phrase, if you don't like it here, well, guess what? Leave, right? And people are leaving by the thousands. Okay, so at the core of it, people, they just want dignity. Okay, they want to be able to live without constant stress. Okay, they want health care that doesn't destroy them financially. Okay, we want to know that working hard actually leads to stability. It's not just an endless grind that's never going to end. Okay, so they can't find that in America anymore, and they look for it somewhere else. Okay, they do just like me. We left the country. Okay, that's not a weakness. That's called survival. Okay, and that takes a lot of courage to make this happen. And you know what? I'm not just talking about other people. Talk about myself too. Okay? So we've been looking at our future, at our family, and I realize that there's places in this world where life is safer, it's calmer, it's more affordable. And why wouldn't we explore that? Why keep forcing ourselves into a system that's clearly broken when there's other options out there for people? That's why we're preparing to join this wave, okay? To step outside the script that we're handed and write our own story abroad. I've been doing this back and forth since 2022. And so now I decided, hey, man, let's make this thing full time. Okay, so and I'll tell you what, I want you to really think about this. Life doesn't have to look like stress. Okay, just always bills, always fear. Okay, life can look like balance, community, and peace. For many of us, that means stepping away from America's collapsing system and creating something better overseas. It's not about running away, it's about moving towards a life that feels whole. Yeah, a lot of us are, sick and tired of being sick and tired. So Americans, they're leaving in record numbers, and we're going to be part of that story too. So have you ever wondered what it would be like to pack up, start fresh in another country? Stick around, okay? Because on this channel, we're going to take you behind the scenes of that journey, okay? The real challenges, the wins, and everything in between. At the end of the day, people like us just want to make life work. And if living abroad is a path to do that, then why not? So if you're interested in learning how to start over, okay? If you've been living your life in America and you notice that you just can't get ahead, you're just paying bills just to pay more bills, just to pay more bills. If you really feel like it's leading nowhere, sometimes it's good to just stop, take a look around, and realize that I got to do something different. Okay, the definition of insanity, this definition, is to do something that doesn't work over and over again. Okay, so if you have the courage to make the decision to try something new, this is the channel for you. And I'll tell you what, if you're like me, I find myself during the lockups, you know what I'm talking about, I had to spend time in America, and I needed that motivation. So I used to watch different content creators just to get the motivation to go back abroad. Okay, I had to remind myself. Sometimes you get in that system and you have to remind yourself that the whole world doesn't function like this. There's other places where things are different. Dating is different. Employment is different. Rules are different. Housing prices are different. Job opportunities are different. And that's what we need to realize, that sometimes I'm not saying that everything is, the grass is always greener on the other side, but there's so many different hills. There's so many different grasses that you may find one that is in your favor. And that's what this is all about, going abroad. It's about finding a situation that works in your favor. Because if you find yourself struggling in so many areas that people struggle in, particularly men, okay, if you find yourself, you feel like it's not necessarily about making enough money. If you find that too much money is being taken away from you, okay, you could be making money, but of taxes and bills and all that, and you feel like there's no more areas to cut, you may want to look at opportunities abroad. If you feel like your dating options, if you feel like it's just not worth it, if you feel like people around you just have too much attitude, or they're too flaky, or they're just not traditional enough or serious enough for you, you may want to try your options abroad. That's what it's all about. Okay? Go where you're appreciated. Experiment and find different scenarios until you find something that works for you. That's what this is all about. That's what traveling is all about. Now, I'll tell you what, there's no guarantee. You may travel the world and find out, hey, America, that's the place for me. But at least you'll know why. You may find that you leave and say, man, you come back, you start noticing things that you didn't see before. And it'll stand out like a sore thumb. You'll say, man, I didn't realize that we have to have so many contracts, right? I didn't realize that, we're being taxed so hard. It's taxes. You're really getting taxed on your income. And after you get taxed on your income, you're taxed on goods, right? It's just taxes on top of taxes on top of taxes. And you may experience different places that don't have that. And then you come back, you say, wow, I didn't realize that was happening. That's why I'm not getting ahead. You may come back and see, like, man, you got these credit checks and contracts and rent, okay? Or just the stigma of needing all these things. You got to have this type of car. You got to live in this type of neighborhood. You got to wear these type of clothes. All these things coming out of your paycheck. You may go to another place and say, hey, none of this stuff even matters in this new environment. So that's what this is all about. Anyway, I'm Expat D. If you like this type of content, like, subscribe. Let's get this channel to grow. Yeah, and if you're interested in taking that step, man, I'll see you in my other videos. All right. I'm going to end it here. Peace and I'm out.